At the very heart of the American political landscape, a significant upheaval has been precipitated by a pronouncement that threatens to irrevocably consign one of the most ambitious and concurrently most debated infrastructure endeavors of modern America to the annals of history. Like a sudden and unexpected storm, the decision emerged, a decree poised to fundamentally alter the allocation of federal financial resources and to irrevocably shape the destiny of a monumental undertaking upon which billions upon billions of dollars have already been invested, and toward which immense aspirations were once directed with fervent hope. At the core of this tumultuous situation stands the high-speed rail line in the state of California, a visionary aspiration that, over the passage of many years, has gradually transformed into a project of profound and widespread disappointment. It is precisely the future of this ambitious venture that has been cast into deep uncertainty by the absolute and unyielding verdict delivered from the highest echelons of governmental authority. This narrative transcends a mere factual account of the discontinuation of financial backing. It represents a compelling drama that delves into the profound conflict between significant political figures, into the unfulfilled commitments made to millions of American individuals, and into the fundamental query that persistently challenges every governing body. How does one accurately differentiate between sagacious investments in the future and a bottomless chasm for the hard-earned money of taxpayers? The subsequent developments, which have unfolded with a bewildering rapidity, have starkly illuminated the profound divisions that exist within the relationship between the federal government and one of the nation's most pivotal states, thereby transforming what is, in its essence, a technical matter into a battleground for a fierce ideological confrontation, the ultimate resolution of which will undoubtedly resonate with far-reaching implications for years to come. With an unreserved display of triumph and in his signature manner of direct communication with the populace, former President Donald Trump issued a resounding declaration, which he characterized as a momentous act of liberation for the American people from a significantly burdensome financial obligation. Through his communication posted on the Truth Social platform on Wednesday, the 23rd day of October, he definitively announced the absolute and irreversible termination of federal financial assistance for the ambitious Californian Railway Initiative. To the law-abiding, tax-paying, and hard-working citizens of the United States of America, I am absolutely thrilled to announce that I have officially freed you from the financial burden of funding California's disastrously overpriced, high-speed train to nowhere, Trump proclaimed, thereby marking the ultimate conclusion of his sustained and vocal criticism of the project. His pronouncement was imbued with a palpable sense of profound satisfaction for what he perceived as a sacred duty discharged to those who had placed their trust in him. In his official statement, he specifically singled out and expressed his sincere gratitude to Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, thereby underscoring the critical and instrumental role that Secretary Duffy played in the successful execution of this momentous decision. Thanks to Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, Trump confidently asserted, not a single cent in federal dollars will ever again be directed towards this so-called new scum scam. This particular phrasing unequivocally conveyed the strong conviction that Trump views the project not merely as an instance of administrative failure, but rather as a deliberately orchestrated scheme, thereby directly associating it with the current leadership of the state of California. Further elaborating upon his central point with a conviction that resonated through his address, Donald Trump presented his attentive audience with truly staggering figures, asserting with unwavering certainty that the ill-fated, ambitious infrastructure project had already exacted a tremendous toll upon American taxpayers, costing them a sum in the realm of hundreds of billions of dollars. This colossal and seemingly irretrievable sum, he argued with forceful conviction, had been utterly squandered, a lamentable waste of precious resources, as the nation had demonstrably never received the promised, fully operational and transformative rail system that had been so eagerly anticipated. His potent rhetoric painted a vivid and unflattering picture of monumental mismanagement, profound governmental incompetence, and the subsequent shattering of deeply held hopes and expectations. The railroad we were promised still does not exist and never will, he concluded unequivocally, thereby delivering a final, definitive, and seemingly unappealable verdict on the entire, protracted initiative. These pronouncements were not merely a superficial form of criticism. Rather, they sounded precisely like an epitaph etched onto the cold tombstone of a grand visionary design that, in his deeply held conviction, had tragically and irrevocably become a phantom entity, a ravenous devourer of real, tangible money. Almost immediately following this high-profile, politically charged declaration, came official confirmation from authoritative governmental bodies, lending the former president's pointed words the undeniable weight of a formal and legally binding decision that could no longer be ignored or dismissed. The United States Department of Transportation, in its meticulously crafted official communiqué, fully corroborated the articulated position presented earlier. In a widely distributed statement, the agency clearly and unequivocally informed the general public that it had officially terminated all further appropriations of approximately $4 billion in unspent federal funds that were, until that moment, previously designated for the ambitious implementation of the high-speed rail project in the state of California. This decisive step effectively transformed a potent political declaration into a concrete and undeniable financial reality, signaling a dramatic shift in the project's trajectory. A central and undeniably pivotal figure in this entire complex process, as the official communications made abundantly clear, was Secretary of Transportation Sean P. Duffy, who provided a detailed and comprehensive justification for the momentous decision. He explained, with considerable clarity, that this significant move was preceded by a period of exceedingly meticulous and comprehensive analytical work. According to his detailed account, the Federal Railroad Administration, FRA, had conducted an exceedingly thorough and rigorous compliance review, a process that ultimately arrived at a deeply disappointing and ultimately definitive conclusion. The comprehensive review determined, with a high degree of certainty, that the California High-Speed Rail Authority, CHSRA, the designated entity specifically responsible for the project's intricate execution and successful delivery, had systematically and repeatedly failed to fulfill its key, fundamental obligations that were clearly and explicitly stipulated within the legally binding terms of its federal grant agreements. United States Transportation Secretary Sean P. Duffy placed the full and undeniable measure of responsibility for the dire and protracted situation squarely and unequivocally upon the shoulders of the state authorities, leaving absolutely no room for any possible ambiguity or misinterpretation. "This is California's fault," he stated with an unyielding and resolute confidence that brooked no argument. "Governor Newsom and the complicit Democrats have enabled this waste for years." His pointed words sounded precisely like a direct and unvarnished accusation of egregious political indulgence and profound financial irresponsibility. The Secretary specifically emphasized, with considerable force, that federal appropriations are most certainly not a carte blanche, a boundless authorization for unchecked spending, nor an inexhaustible, limitless source of funding for any and all purposes. Federal dollars are not a blank check, he continued, his voice firm and resolute. They come with a promise to deliver results. In his considered view, it was precisely this fundamental, non-negotiable condition that had been so egregiously breached by the Californian side. After over a decade of failures, concluded United States Transportation Secretary Sean P. Duffy, his statement a stark indictment of the project's lack of progress, CHSRA's mismanagement and incompetence has proven it cannot build its train to nowhere on time or on budget. To truly comprehend the magnitude of the events that have unfolded and the profound disillusionment expressed by those who have scrutinized this monumental undertaking, one must journey back in time, to the very inception of this ambitious endeavor. The genesis of this grand vision can be traced to the year 2008, a pivotal moment when the electorate of the esteemed state of California cast their votes in favor of a substantial bond measure amounting to $10 billion. These financial resources were earmarked to serve as the foundational capital, the initial investment required for the construction of a cutting-edge, state-of-the-art high-speed rail network. The concept, at its outset, was nothing short of spectacular. This new artery of steel and innovation was envisioned to seamlessly bridge the vast expanse between the state's two most populous and influential metropolitan centers, namely San Francisco and Los Angeles. The initial timeline for the completion of this ambitious project was optimistically set for the year 2020. At that juncture, The projected total expenditure for the entire undertaking was estimated to be a staggering $33 billion. It represented a bold and inspiring aspiration for a future where traversing the distance between the northern and southern extremities of the state would be characterized by unparalleled speed, remarkable convenience, and a strong commitment to environmental sustainability. However, as the inexorable march of time continued, of countless delays, formidable legal battles, protracted disputes concerning the chosen route, and, perhaps most significantly, an unmanageable and spiraling escalation of financial costs. The original cost projections, it became abundantly clear, were not merely inaccurate but hopelessly outmoded and fundamentally flawed. Consequently, as a direct result of years of persistent delays and the colossal overspending that has characterized its development, the original, majestic blueprint for this transportation system has undergone a drastic and disheartening curtailment. The project, in its current iteration, has been significantly scaled back, reduced to a scope that now represents merely a faint echo, a pale shadow of its former glorious ambition. Rather than the envisioned grand trunk line designed to unite the state's principal economic powerhouses, the current focus has been narrowed to the construction of a single segment spanning 171 miles. This particular segment is intended to forge a connection between the cities of Merced and Bakersfield, both situated within the heart of California's fertile Central Valley. Astonishingly, even for this considerably diminished and truncated version of the original plan, the estimated cost has ballooned to truly monstrous proportions. According to the most recent evaluations and assessments, the projected expenditure for this segment alone now stands at an eye-watering sum of up to $35 billion. This signifies that an amount that actually exceeds the entirety of the original projected cost for the entire, comprehensive project is now slated to be dedicated to a far more limited section of track. Furthermore, the target completion date for this significantly shortened segment has been irrevocably pushed far into the distant future, now set for the year 2033. Against the backdrop of these profoundly discouraging developments and the subsequent, devastating announcement delivered by the Trump administration, there has, to date, been no official pronouncement or reaction forthcoming from the current leadership of the state of California. Governor Newsom himself has not yet issued any formal response to the aforementioned announcement, and his conspicuous silence only serves to amplify the palpable tension and pervasive uncertainty that continues to shroud the future of this long-suffering and beleaguered project.